Okay, we are back in Hatfield, Pennsylvania for the 5th annual Battle of the All-Stars, sponsored by Bucksmont Roller Derby Dolls, and they've done a great job so far of putting this tournament on. This is Gretchen Little. I'm here with Mary Chaos.
Yay! I'm so excited to finally call something with you.
You know it. It's game 19 right now. This is going to be between North Carolina and Kansas. North Carolina will be wearing the blue uniforms. Kansas will be wearing white jerseys. Both of these teams, of course, in the same grouping. This will be their final foray into grouping play. Both teams with losses to Ohio and losses to Colorado. However, North Carolina did a little better against Ohio than did Kansas.
Yeah, something I was noticing, North Carolina against both teams, really good job of that defense to offense switch. So even though they weren't necessarily always getting lead jammer for both games, they were really good at holding the other team back to limit their points.
All right, we're almost ready to get underway. The scoreboard is cleared out, 15 minutes on the period clock, and Kansas taking the front of the pack, extremely so. Up near the pivot line, North Carolina holding the line at the start line. And we're almost ready to go. Coaches for Kansas are Public Asset and Public Enemy. We're ready to roll. Here we go. First whistle. Jamming for North Carolina is number
23, Foxy Thunderclap.
Okay, Thunderclap lead jammer, and not far behind is Anna Maniac for Kansas. As a matter of fact, Anna Maniac is taking the lead right now in position. That'll force the call off. Scoreless first jam. Okay, so 30 seconds gone by, no score. Next jammer's up for both teams. We got Buster Vicious for North Carolina, spying for the number on Kansas. 4-on-4 in the pack.
It's so hard to see from turn one here, especially this jammer gets very low.
Well, we'll be seeing soon enough bowling to the front of the pack and establishing lead jammer position. This is Dizzy Astor for Kansas. First lead jammer for the Kansas All-Stars. Coming in from behind, however, is the North Carolina jammer. This is going to be another wash. No, 1 point put up by Kansas, and those are the first points of the game. Kansas taking a 1-0 lead.
Buster tried to jump the apex right at the last second, and Kansas was kind of predicting what was going on, took her down in the air.
It was a valiant effort. Both teams have, again, lost to Ohio and Colorado. Not necessarily surprising results there, but the surprise this morning was North Carolina putting a scare into Ohio. We're back to live action now. This is the third jam of this game. Coming out up front, North Carolina in charge. That's Uniscorn, lead jammer for the North Carolina All-Stars, and making it through right now, Artemis for Kansas. Scoring pass, North Carolina. We've got a call off, and that's going to put North Carolina up 4-1.
And in the meantime, Dogpile, number 1-1 for Kansas, is going to go join number 86 in the penalty box. So that's going to mean short packs for both teams, but even up.
3-on-3 in the pack, and that jammer's got to like to see that. Give them a little more room to move. Okay, fourth jam of the game right now, 4-1 in favor of North Carolina. This is, a North Carolina lead is established. We're going to see whether, yep, she's able to make it through. That's PYT for North Carolina. An immediate star pass on the Kansas side to No El Paso. She will be the jammer of record for the ladies in white. Nice defensive work there by Anna Maniac, forcing a call off, 2 more points for North Carolina.
Both teams in their previous games really utilized the star pass and star stash a lot. It's part of how they kept the scores low, quite honestly. No El Paso took a lot of star passes in their other games.
Dizzy Astor ready to jam for Kansas. And we're looking for the jammer number. Oh, it's Mayhem. First jam for Mayhem. Coming in for North Carolina, Dizzy Astor pushing the front of the pack. Crank holding down the defense for North Carolina, and that springs Mayhem. Oh, roll back on the Kansas side. Dizzy Astor with the star in her hand. This is a scoring pass for Mayhem, and Mayhem looks like she's going to get them all. She bumps Dizzy Astor into the infield. 5 points for Mayhem, and Dizzy Astor gets re-swallowed by that North Carolina pack. Ooh, Dizzy Astor can't quite stay in bounds on turn 4, and now she's going to get a no pass, no penalty, so it's all good. She's through the pack, and 4 put up for Mayhem. Mayhem's looking over at the bench, going to call it off.
Yeah, there was a split second where Dizzy Astor thought about going back and decided to take a chance. She didn't look completely sure whether that blocker went out, but played in her favor. Oh, and the box is now clear. We had a little bit of a rotating door in the box for a moment.
16-1 in favor of North Carolina. North Carolina looking to advance. The final game of this grouping will take place in a little bit, and that's going to be an interesting one between Ohio and Colorado. But right now we've got blue versus white, and this is Foxy Thunderclap jamming for North Carolina. Artemis jamming for Kansas. Artemis ridden inside, and a rollback on Foxy Thunderclap. Artemis looking, and oh no, not lead jammer. There was a no pass, no penalty in there. Lead jammer now awarded to Foxy Thunderclap, who may choose to call this jam off. And her coaching staff suggests that rather vociferously.
Artemis did a great job on her toe stops on both edges in that one. She's really good at leaning in on her shoulders and instead of fighting the blocker, sort of using them to her advantage.
Yeah, that's such an important skill to be able to deflect that power and put it to your use. Buster Vicious ready to jam for North Carolina. She'll be taking on Animaniac for Kansas. Animaniac has been a powerhouse all weekend long for the Kansas squad. Animaniac playing for ICT Roller Derby, and she establishes lead jammer. Buster Vicious caught in the back of the pack right now. Kansas really speeding things up, Mary.
They did that a couple times against Colorado when they actually did have lead to try and save those points.
Here comes Animaniac, full head of steam. She's got 1 to beat up front. She's going to have to call it quick if she does. Buster Vicious picking up 1, Animaniac picking up 4. Okay, so a win for Kansas there takes them up to 5 points. North Carolina on 17.
I talked to Buster Vicious a little bit before the game, and she said that one thing she wanted to focus on was not forgetting that she's strong. So
she showed it there.
Yeah. I think she's doing a good job so far.
Rather speedy as well. She stole that 1 point at the back, and that's one of the things we're seeing from both of these teams is the call-offs have to be made very crisply. Okay, back to the live action right now. That is Uniscorn jamming for North Carolina. Dizzy Astor, we got 2 lead jams in a row now for Kansas. Kansas making a move. Uniscorn hit hard to the middle. Uniscorn able to stay in bounds with the spin move, and she completes the initial pass. Dizzy Astor should get 4 right now, and she will call it off. And just like that, Kansas pulling to within 8 points. They're on 9, and North Carolina on 17.
Interesting to see how Kansas is maintaining this 3-jammer rotation pretty steady, just Animaniac, Dizzy Astor, and Artemis, which is working very well for them. It seems like North Carolina still likes throwing darts against the wall, seeing who's going to do best against this Kansas team.
Kansas with 1 blocker in the penalty box, so North Carolina will have the pack advantage right now. This is Mayhem jamming for North Carolina, And again, it's Artemis for Kansas. Mayhem looking on the inside now and bump. She makes it through, though, getting around no El Paso. Lead jammer now for North Carolina. And Artemis having difficult time with this North Carolina defense.
Yeah, this is unlike Artemis to be recycled back so much. Even against some of the tougher teams, she was often able to maintain her stability inside the track lines.
Well, whatever mojo the North Carolina defense put on Artemis that time, it took her a minute to get back up from the infield. On another scoring pass now for North Carolina, and that is 5. Artemis finally does make it through the pack. Mayhem with 10 right now as she is going to approach the pack looking for a couple more. She's into the pack and calls. Oh, very nice move there. I think she may have gotten all 4. She did.
Mayhem was relied on a lot during the last game. When they almost came back and grabbed the game from Ohio, Mayhem was one of their key jammers in getting that lead back. So it's nice to see her in this rotation again.
Yeah, definitely a very rangy jammer, and as she showed right there, able to get those hips in front with no room to spare. We've got Animaniac now jamming for Kansas, and she'll be taking on number 86 for North Carolina. That's Ginger Clobbers. First jam for Ginger. Oh, and we have a helmet loss right there. That's going to prompt a call off by the officiating staff. Smart play. You don't want anybody to get hurt in a game like this.
I am actually going to be surprised if they don't put her in the box for an equipment malfunction, because that is something that the refs could validate.
Well, the officials are talking in the infield right now about that, and now that also, does that mean she can't play for the next 3 jams?
No, because it's equipment, not injury.
Okay, that's a good clarification. Animaniac jamming again for Kansas, and for North Carolina, this is PYT, I believe.
Yes.
Yep, PYT at the back of the pack. Animaniac with troubles of her own at the front. This is a defensive jam right now. Animaniac picking her spots, getting into a little tussle there with Crank. Animaniac finds room, though, on the inside of turn 3. Lead jammer for Kansas. Kansas with 9 right now. North Carolina with 30. Kansas with several lead jams, though, over the last couple of jams. And Animaniac should be getting 5. We have a star stash now for North Carolina, and PYT in the open spaces for North Carolina. Animaniac looking for as much as she can get. Wow, Evans with a takedown of epic proportions on PYT.
Animaniac thought she was getting under Evans, and Evans just matched her height.
Yeah, that's a 9-point jam, though, for Kansas, and Kansas wants to keep this momentum. They're just down by 12, but boy, this first period has rocketed by, Mary. We're down to 3 minutes.
The beauty of a 15-minute period, I suppose.
Mayhem ready to jam for North Carolina, and this is going to be looking for the number now on Kansas. Oh, Mayhem able to scoot by on the outside. Lead jammer for North Carolina. Still looking for daylight is Dizzy Astor, finally through, but Mayhem on a scoring pass. Mayhem gets through. That should be 4. It is. And we're looking to see, going to run clock a little bit. Mayhem going to allow Dizzy Astor to get tantalizingly close to that pack before calling it off.
I like how aware the North Carolina Jammers are of their bench coach. He had his hands up and ready. Old school, go and watch me because it's going to happen. Yeah. And Mayhem called it exactly when he told her to.
That's Cool Hand Duke in control of the game right now for North Carolina. This is Foxy Thunderclap wearing the star for North Carolina. This could be Artemis again for Kansas. North Carolina with 34, Kansas with 18. certainly a competitive game right now. Thunderclap up at the front, running into no El Paso, and look at Artemis trying to get through on the outside of turn 2, and the pack passes her by. Nice defense by Bricks Hithouse in the pivot spot for North Carolina.
Bricks started off the jam playing offense, and as soon as Artemis popped through, she was there to stop her. That is exactly how you make that offensive to defensive switch.
And 15 seconds later, it pays off again as Foxy Thunderclap is awarded lead jammer for North Carolina, and immediately back into the pack on a scoring pass. Dogpile takes her to the outside, though, and that'll force the call off. Artemis did complete the initial pass, and we have a scoreless jam, so Dogpile with a huge defensive stop for Kansas.
Dogpile's been working really hard this weekend. Her and Evans, as a team, just really do a good job of rotating around other blockers in order to be where they need to be. It looks like Kansas is going to start with a pack advantage on this one. We've got one blocker in the box for North Carolina.
Yep, it's PYT now jamming for North Carolina, and this will be for Kansas. No, it's not Dizzy Astor.
I thought it was.
PYT is lead jammer. This will be a first attempt now for Triple B for Kansas, and she's meeting that North Carolina defense with some chagrin. PYT on a scoring pass. Now Triple B able to make it through on the initial. The period clock has expired, so we are on jam time. PYT wants as much as she can get. She is going to call it off. Waiting to see. She did get all 4, and that's going to do it for halftime. North Carolina taking care of business. 20-point lead over Kansas, 38-18, but Kansas within spitting distance.
Absolutely. Kansas has definitely shown that they can shut down jams when they play together and when they don't get inside their heads. There have been a couple jams where North Carolina spread out a little bit. Kansas was able to take advantage of a spread out pack. So if Kansas can kind of take these 30 seconds to go, okay, what were we doing well, and how can we kind of bomb those packs of North Carolina, I mean, that would not be a hard deficit to come back from.
Not at all, and in Kansas's favor. North Carolina with 2 blockers in the penalty box as we are going to resume play. So a quick 4-2 pack advantage. Emma Chur for North Carolina, and we're looking for the number
31. It's Bricks Hithouse.
Bricks Hithouse. Well, if you're going to have 2 blockers on the track, those are the 2 who you might want to pick. But they're going to have their hands full as Kansas with the 4-2 pack advantage on the track. Okay, jamming for North Carolina is Uniscorn, and Dizzy Astor's going to start the second period for Kansas. Dizzy Astor wants to get out fast. Let's see what happens. Here she goes. She does. Oh, well, she was so excited. That was the rolling whistle. It was not the beginning of play. So, Kansas tipping their hat a little bit as far as which way they were going to want to go.
Yeah, they might want to rethink their strategy now.
Yeah, and we'll watch for Dizzy Astor going on the inside this time. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what she does, and she makes it through that way too. Lead jammer now for Kansas, Dizzy Astor. Now, okay, what is Uniscorn going to be able to do? Well, that's a big play for Uniscorn to be able to get through. She was able to stay in bounds. Dizzy Astor stays in bounds as well. She's going to call off the jam. She got 4 points. 4 points, okay. So Kansas jumps out 22 now. North Carolina still on 38, and those 2 North Carolina blockers still in the penalty box, although they're standing now.
Right, anxiously waiting. That was a great call-up. They got the 4 points and called it immediately to freeze those 2 blockers in.
That's right, gives them another opportunity at lead. Animaniac's going to be jamming for Kansas against Mayhem for North Carolina, and here comes Animaniac pushing the front of the pack. Tutu LaRue tries to hold the outside line. She does, but Animaniac dances inside. Lead jammer for Kansas. Mayhem now able to get through on the initial. Both teams at full strength. Animaniac on a scoring pass, looking outside. A little bit of holdup by her own player, actually. Now Mayhem on a scoring pass as well. Mayhem steals 2 at the back and 3 put up by Animaniac. No, well, we're waiting now for the, yes, confirmation. It's 3-2 in favor of Kansas, so Kansas is on a little roll here.
Again, great heads-up play by Kansas. They were able to goat North Carolina blocker in the back, so even though both jammers were out and approaching, they knew that they were going to be guaranteed at least that point.
Okay, and we have Animaniac going 2 in a row now for Kansas. Bricks Hithouse jamming for North Carolina, a triple threat without question, and she gets lead jammer. Oh, this is Artemis, excuse me, for Kansas. She appeared similar in stature to Animaniac, a blocker in the penalty box now for North Carolina. Artemis completing the initial pass, but Bricks Hithouse on a scoring pass and in control of this jam.
I feel like Carolina likes to spread out what kind of jammer they use, and I think they must have decided that power was the way to go against this Kansas team.
Well,
Kansas
it paid off.
Yeah.
It paid off in a 4-0 win right there. North Carolina now on 44. Kansas with 25, 19 points is the difference right now. Both teams with 1 blocker in the penalty box. So we're going to see Buster Vicious jamming for North Carolina against Dizzy Astor for Kansas. Okay, no El Paso in the pivot spot for Kansas, bracing that defense up front. We have some offense being thrown by the North Carolina pivot. Both jammers break through almost simultaneously. Dizzy Astor's lead, and she calls it off immediately.
Buster just riding the wave right through, and Dizzy going, oh, I did not realize my friend was still in the box. She probably would have ridden the wave a little bit longer.
Tried to get her out. Yep, Animaniac will be taking the star now for Kansas. And for North Carolina, we have a very low slung jammer at the start line. We'll get that number for you in just a second. And looking inside, that's 01, who is Public Genemy. First jam of the game for Public Genemy, ridden out to the outside straightaway. Animaniac pushing up front, but the North Carolina defense doing a good job of holding off Animaniac. Here we go. Public Genemy, lead jammer for North Carolina, coming back from quite a deficit. Star pass now going to Evans for Kansas, and 4 points already up there for North Carolina. Call off for Public Genemy. Boy, that's what you like to see in a relief jammer, isn't it, Mary?
Absolutely, and this is actually the 6th jammer that they have put out, which is unusual in a 30-minute game. And Kansas hasn't had to do the star pass too much because their team has been doing a really good job of springing their jammers quickly too. So. Yep,
Animaniac. No, excuse me. I keep confusing Animaniac and Artemis for Kansas. We're ready to get underway. Looking up front for North Carolina, this is Uniscorn. Dogpile holds her off on the outside. She tries the inside now. Dogpile continues to thwart her along with Evans. Nice work by Dogpile and Evans. All right, coming through now for Kansas, we have, this is a first jam for Gusia for Kansas, and she is lead jammer now through Uniscorn, but she's half a track behind. North Carolina up at the front of the pack. Gusia into the pack on a scoring pass, taken down hard, calling off the jam from her back. And she got 3 points before stopping play. So well done.
Yeah,
well done for Gusia.
Yeah. Gusia's been used as a relief jammer in the other games too. They kind of held her back and then towards the end started to sprinkle her in a little bit.
Okay, Kansas asking for a timeout right now. Don't blame them. 8:58. They're down by 20, certainly within reach. And so Kansas gonna, hey, public asset and public enemy want to make sure that they are prepared for the rest of this game.
Absolutely. North Carolina was starting to spread their packs out a little bit. They seem to have coalesced a little bit better. They're keeping their shapes. Even when they're getting fast, they're not getting quite out of arm's reach like they were starting to. So I think that they were starting to have the break apart like happened in the Ohio game. But instead of just letting it go, they've been able to kind of magnetize themselves back together.
So, as is often the case, sometimes the timeout actually benefits both teams. Speaking of both teams, both have one blocker in the penalty box, so it's going to be 3-on-3. Okay, almost ready to go. Seeing the rolling whistle engaged now. Okay, Foxy Thunderclap jamming for North Carolina. Dizzy Astor wearing the star for Kansas. Dizzy Astor gets the jump and pushing into the teeth of this Kansas defense. And boy, that wall's not going anywhere, Mary.
Yeah, both teams have really strong tripods at the start of this jam. I like seeing that. I like seeing triangles work well together and rotate and just not give
any purchase whatsoever. And we have a penalty now, cutting the track, going on Dizzy Astor. Couldn't have happened at a more inopportune moment for Kansas. Lead jammer now for Foxy Thunderclap, and here she comes on her first scoring pass. Evans holding off the outside line. Foxy Thunderclap getting some offense now from PYT, but getting back up to the front of the pack. Kansas not making anything easy for Foxy. She's finally through, and that will be 5. Every point now. Ooh, we're going to have a call off. Foxy Thunderclap trying to ice Dizzy Astor, but I don't think she was able to do it.
So that thing I had said earlier about listening to your bench coach, Foxy took the cue 2 seconds too late, and when you're dealing with penalties, 2 seconds can be exactly that.
That's right. Dizzy Astor was just released from the penalty box when the call-off took place, and that's a break for Kansas. We got Mayhem jamming for North Carolina now. Mayhem looking into the teeth of the defense, and this is Triple B again jamming for Kansas. Mayhem, though, able to get through. Mayhem's been a stalwart for North Carolina, providing some punch when they need it on the offensive end.
Speaking of punch, so did Triple B, so much so that it ended up getting her a forearm penalty, so she's going to sit down in the box. So we're going to have a wrecking ball as our power jam for this one.
That's right. Mayhem already awarded 5, and she will quickly call off the jam. That'll ice Triple B in the penalty box. And again, Cool Hand Duke likes what he sees. There is Kansas jammer Triple B and one Kansas blocker as well in the penalty box right now. So
this is a good move. They're putting fresh legs out. They're putting PYT out, who hasn't jammed in a little while. This is the place to use her.
Right, and 30 points, 6 minutes and 25 seconds to go. This is an opportunity to really bust that lead wide open if North Carolina plays their cards right. PYT trying to scoot outside, can't do it. Kansas pivot to aware. Oh, PYT, very nice work, but it is not enough to get her lead jammer. She is, Triple B took off the star, so we won't have a lead jammer in this particular jam. 2 minutes now might inure to the benefit of North Carolina, the way this has been going so far. PYT with the spin move. No, she's called for the cut. She guessed wrong, and all of a sudden the Power Jam gods are favoring Kansas as PYT's going to have to sit. Might have taken some points into the box with her, but now Triple B on a scoring pass, and oh my goodness, she ran right into Emma Tour, and both skaters taking a moment to get back up after that one. Emma Tour with a defensive stop.
And luckily, you've got Noel Paso out there as your pivot for Kansas. So if Triple B does continue to run into issues because of a long jam, she does have someone solid to pass to, but it looks like she's just going to try and get the points.
Well, Triple B already has, you can't call it off. She's trying to, but she is not going to be able to. There's still 30 minutes or 30 seconds left on this jam.
Worst jam ever.
And out of the pack, Kansas may want to have taken your advice on that one, Mary, and passed that star. PYT out of the box already with 4, closing in on the pack 4 more. Triple B is taken down by Crank on the inside straightaway, and Crank takes her down again. And like you often see, once a defender gets the bead on a jammer, it just seems like they continue to punish them, and that's kind of what Crank did on that one.
And there's for jammers, there's a sort of rule of like when you get knocked down, it takes us about as much energy to get back up as it does to do 5 laps. So when you get knocked down 3 or 4 times in a jam, I mean, that's like you've just done your 27 and 5.
It's extended the jam by several seconds, and North Carolina got 9 points on that jam. PYT getting out of the penalty box and making it count. 7 for Kansas. North Carolina now 67, Kansas 35, 3 minutes and some change left. Back to the front of the pack right now. This is Public Enemy again, jamming for North Carolina. Artemis for Kansas, and Public Enemy able to escape the pack lead jammer. Public Enemy really doing a good job in a relief jammer capacity for North Carolina.
Artemis getting pinged around like a pinball, just taking abuse from those North Carolina blockers.
Yeah, Wrecking Bell getting her hips into Artemis right now and holding off that inside line. 5 points awarded to Public Enemy. Cool Hand Duke says, hey, keep on rolling. The clock is our friend. If you're a North Carolina fan right now, that's a big stop right there for Kansas and Hippie Shinkiker. But, North Carolina jammer. Public Enemy is going to be called to the penalty box. I missed the call.
Block.
A low block
Yeah.
is the call. Okay, so power jam for Kansas, but Artemis still not through on the initial pass. Now she completes it. Looking for the jam clock. Still 35 seconds to go. And boy, Artemis is taking an opportunity to catch her breath before she has to engage this pack. Here she comes, scoring pass for Kansas. They need every point possible, and Artemis is certainly digging deep to try to get them. The power jam is over. Public Enemy has not engaged yet, however. Here she comes into the pack. Public Enemy in scoring position, bumped out by Hippie Shinkiker again. Oh, and a cutting the track penalty. Right back to the penalty box goes Public Enemy.
And she is going to courteously disagree with that call. And there is a late hit being called. I think the pivot thought she was just going straight in. Artemis, meanwhile, taking a second to get up.
Yeah, she's that last one really shook her, but she's going to be all right.
Yeah.
And good to see her heading back to her bench under her own power. The Kansas staff and the medical staff taking a look at her as well. We've got a power jam now, and again, the rolling whistle. Animaniac was extremely excited to get going. Official timeout now on the track. They may be talking about that last hit. Could be whether we're going to have a possible expulsion as a result of that hit.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, it could just be that they're talking to each other to make sure everything was in order. It seemed like they were trying to get Artemis off the track still when the whistle was about to happen.
Okay, and I think you're right, Mary, as Boom now, our jam timer, gives the rolling whistle, his hands up for 5. Here we go. And this minute 20 left. This is a huge jam for Animaniac for Kansas, and she immediately establishes lead. Still in the penalty box is Public Enemy for North Carolina, and North Carolina losing blockers at an alarming rate. They have an entire squad in the penalty area right now. Here they come back on the track. Public Enemy is sprung from the box, but how quickly can Animaniac get through is the question now. She gets 4 points. She has 9. 45 seconds on the period clock. Oh, Public Enemy completes the initial pass. That was extremely important. 4 more points. Here comes Animaniac. Can she unseat Public Enemy? That's the question right now.
So I saw that whole thing happen. What happened, we started with 2 blockers in the box. Blue 2-1 Crank was given a false start warning, did not yield. Blue 2-1 was called for an illegal procedure, but both Blue 3-1 and Blue 2-1 thought that their number was being called, so they both exited. And Big Mean Daddy, who was the one who was issuing the penalty, was trying to get 3-1 back on the track, so that way there was still a pack.
Okay, well, with that explanation, it's a 22-point game. This is within the realm of possibility, Mary. More time is being put on the period clock as an official review is being requested by making sure of this now. It appears that it's being requested by Kansas. 25 seconds now on the period clock. 2 blockers in the box for North Carolina, 1 for Kansas. 22-point game. Oh boy.
I'm guessing it's going to actually be the North Carolina, because I see Cool Hand Duke being very verbal in the middle right now. Chances are, I've seen a lot of official reviews this weekend be the coaches going, I'm not sure what happened. There was a lot of officiating that just occurred. Please explain it to me, because I want to make sure that everything is okay, that we're not losing anyone, and all of that.
Right. So yes, as I am looking at Jam Timer Boom now, it is apparent that the official review has been requested by North Carolina. Hopefully we will have some clarification as to what specifically they are asking to be reviewed. As it stands right now, okay, 22-point game, but 25, plenty of time on the period clock to get lead if you're a Kansas fan and run the table.
And how many 29, 34-point gems have we seen this weekend?
Exactly, several. And right now, with the star for Kansas is Dizzy Astor. We would presume that Kansas will elect to roll that way. Just 1 blocker in the box for Kansas. That's Dogpile, though. Certainly somebody you want on the track if you're a Kansas fan.
Absolutely. And with Evans out there, her partner in crime, plus no El Paso, I mean, that's the crew that you want out for your last jam for sure.
Yeah, Buster Vicious is wearing the star for North Carolina, so it seems like both teams are going for power in their jammer selection for this final jam of the game. It's almost assuredly the final jam of the game. This has been such an exciting game. We really haven't had an opportunity to tell you what's coming up next, but we do have quite a game coming up next. Maine is going to be taking on Saskatchewan at 2:20, followed by New York and Virginia. That one should prove exciting.
That was one of the best games last year.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
Virginia looked really strong yesterday. New York, of course, is the defending champion here at the Battle of the All-Stars, and they brought quite a team this year, too.
I'm curious to see how many are here. I know that they played 9 for their first game, 10 for their second. So let's see if they add a couple more. But
well, people have jobs and stuff like
Thursdays
that. It's tough.
hard.
It's tough to commit to the entire weekend. Okay, and it appears that Animaniac is now going to be reporting to the penalty box. She's putting on the pivot stripe. Dogpile is being escorted away. Must have been the 4th penalty.
Same with Crank.
Yeah, Crank is leaving the playing surface for North Carolina, and Dogpile is going to have to do the same for Kansas. So Animaniac taking Dogpile's place. It's going to be 3-on-3 in the pack. Again, as we said, jamming for Kansas is going to be Dizzy Astor. Jamming for North Carolina is going to be Buster Vicious. And the official review appears to have been settled, and no additional. Once again, these rolling whistles are really getting. We have some excited skaters ready to go. Okay.
Buster, traditionally one of the best lead jam percentages for North Carolina. That's the right choice to put out right now.
Yeah, Dizzy Astor, little trouble. Oh, Buster Vicious able to stay on the right-hand skate, and she makes it through. She is lead jammer. 10 seconds left on the period clock, right, winding down now to 5. Buster Vicious just burning some clock. This is a smart play right now. They need the W. She's going to call it off. She does as soon as the period clock hits 0. And North Carolina with the win, a convincing win, but Kansas was knocking on the door the whole time.
Kansas played a heck of a game, and it was neat to watch them adjust on the fly. They were very good at tightening the screws as they went for this one.
Yeah, I said a convincing win. If a 22-point win can be convincing, Kansas definitely took their shots at North Carolina, but North Carolina had an answer.
Yes, indeed.
And that Buster Vicious lead jam at the end of the game sealed the deal. North Carolina with 75, Kansas with 53. We now get the word that these will be the official scores, and a well-played game. Boy, these teams really wanted a piece of each other, and I think they got it.
Absolutely. And now they both have a little bit of a rest while we figure out the seedings, while the rest of the groups finish up their last games. And then we start our 4th place placement at the end of the evening.
That's right. And Ohio and Colorado will be the missing piece in this group's puzzle. They'll be facing off against each other fairly soon. Let's check out exactly when that takes place.
5:15.
5:15, you are correct. That will be game number 23. And you will be on that broadcast as well, Mary. You'll be with Kent the politician for Team Ohio. Here comes Kansas taking their semi-victory lap, or their almost victory lap. They deserve it.
Yes, indeed.
Well-played game. Well, we're going to shut her down right now so that we can confer on the most valuable players. And it's going to be an interesting discussion because I think a lot of names stand out in my mind. We'll be back with the interviews of those MVPs in just a couple of minutes.
Hi, this is Mary Chaos here at Battle of the All-Stars, here with Team North Carolina's MVP, number 31, Bricks Hit House. And as an announcer, we all have to be very careful when we say that. So who do you play for usually, and what is your role on your everyday team?
I play for Fayetteville Roller Derby, Rogue Roller Girls. I'm currently head trainer. I play on their All-Star team. I do a little bit of everything, so block, jam, pivot, whatever's needed. For them, yeah.
Well, you were doing it for North Carolina today, too. We've seen you primarily as a blocker or pivot. Today we saw you take the star a little bit. The big question that we've all been talking about is how you, as Team North Carolina, feel you've changed your gameplay from Game 1 against Colorado, which was very hard, to here. You almost beat Ohio earlier, and now this time you seem to have control of the game right away. What changed?
I think in the beginning, because we're so many different teams coming together and we don't really practice a lot, it's hard for us to really meld together and build good lines. And as we've kind of played, we've gotten better at kind of staying together in our walls, reforming and recycling. So we really came together in this game.
Excellent. Well, we're very excited to see how your seeding works out, and it's been great watching you play. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Gretchen Little, and I'm here with most valuable player for the Kansas All-Stars. This is Evans. Evans, say hello to your fans.
Hello.
One of the things that I think is wonderful is you are the youngest player on the Kansas team, just 19 years old, several years in junior derby. Tell us about that.
So I played juniors for 4 years, primarily with the Hoosier Bruisers from Anderson, Indiana. It was my first ever time playing co-ed derby. I was there for 2.5 years. They got me to the first ever Junior Olympics and all that cool jazz. So juniors is definitely very dear to my heart.
Well, the experience shows on the track. Obviously, you had a lot of big defensive stops in this game and several good offensive plays, too. What's it like to step up into the adult world, so to speak, in derby?
It was exciting. It was really different compared to juniors. I played very high level in juniors, and adult high level is like another step up. So pushing myself to reach that level has been a challenge, but it's been an awesome learning experience. And tournaments like this are so cool for places like Kansas that only have one sanctioned WIFTA team. So it's really a nice step up to branch out into that world.
Well, a couple of years ago, of course, Wichita, the ICT Roller Girls were hosting the D2 championships. Your current league in Kansas?
Is the Capital City Crushers from Topeka.
Okay, well, hey, is there anybody you'd like to say hello to?
To my husband, Ray, who's watching at home and has been supporting me for the past 3 years in this weird adventure of derby. So, hi, babe, I love you.
All right, thank you very much, and congratulations, Evans of the Kansas Roller Derby All-Stars.
Thank you so much.